All right, folks, back to Ardennes 44. All right, we just finished up the December 23rd turn, and we had night movement. I even left the night markers on the units so you could see, at least for the Germans, because the Allies are still so scattering during the day turns that there's nobody really left to do a night move. Because the ones you don't move, or only move one hex, you're trying to keep them in a position where you're not going to move them anyhow. All right, so for the most part, the Germans get 2 more sets of reinforcements. The Allies get something pretty much on every turn for the rest of the game except for 1. Casualties, they're getting so heavy, some of them fall off on the floor over here. I had to pick them up. Germans, yeah, well, they're taking a few more too. Germans get 1 replacement this night turn. Allies got 1 of each. Let's take a broad look at the front here. Probably kind of hard to tell. All right, so let's review the strategy. All right, so for the Germans, I'm still focused on expanding this pocket. And I think I'm doing a pretty good job as the Germans up here, because now what's happening is because of this, this pocket, and because the Germans were now able to push out over here above Bastogne, but they're still just barely hanging on to Bastogne, but I think they're going to be okay. I've waited too long to shift Americans or Allied reinforcements to this area. Now, what does that mean for the Germans? Sure, they could take off and run down the road, but then they're just going to get cut off and get put out of supply. So, I don't know. I got to figure that one out, because I don't really have anything that I can sneak up in there unless I start breaking units down. And then the minute I do that, then whatever Allied forces are sitting here or coming in from the side, they're going to shatter them. Okay, so it looks like that this front over here is going to have to... Oh, almost did it. Almost did it. Got to be careful with this darn thing, this flimsy-ass thing. All right, so this side over here, they've held on pretty much for everything, but now I'm slowly starting to pull them back. I mean, I'm going to have to. I got to get these guys to go back so that, you know, I figure half of these units through this area here can probably, they're not moving very far. I might have to put trucks on them. They can pull back, and then maybe just less than half of them can shift around and defend where the breakout is. I still don't think the Germans can pull this off. I really don't. I certainly don't think they're going to cross the Meuse if they ever get up there. Because, I mean, the Brits are, you know, Liège is pretty much covered. Even though they can't come west, the Germans would have to take all 4 of those hexes. So I may need to stack them up. I can't see them breaking for the Meuse, and then even if they got there, being in supply. And you can see the Brits and they still got a few more units to come on. They're starting to fill into all the crossings up there anyhow. So I don't know. I still got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 if you count the night turns, in order to figure out how to break out and capture some victory locations, because I don't see any way to do it. Now, so let's take a closer in look up here so you can see I did do night attacks, as you can see, and there were 3 stacks, there were 2 attacks, and both attacks were successful. This one here drove this unit across and drove this. I got to disrupt him. My bad, homie. All right, he's disrupted. All right, so these 2 units were in a stack. They got driven out. All right, the armor had to go boom, boom, because you can't cross that, obviously. But his direct path was straight across for him, and he was against it, so he's good to go. This night stack drove the unit out of there. Actually, I think he was sitting here, and he got a... Yeah, no, he was sitting here. Yeah, sitting here, and he got a DR3. So he ended up running back to here, and I didn't want to break that zone of control bond here, so I only moved him up 1. I don't think he's going to be too big a threat. And then if these guys move into attack, they'll be across the river. All right, so there's the furthest point over here to the north of the breakout, and that would be, that's 12th SS. So 12th SS along with 2nd Panzer, 1st SS, more 12th SS units over here, 2nd Panzer, some 1st SS units, so some 12th SS over here, I wish there was like a combined arms thing in here. But if there is, I didn't see it. All right, Bastogne. Let's take a peek this way without messing up the counters. Yeah, this is a difficult, because I got a big old gap right there. Like I say, where in a lot of games you would front load supply. Well, some games you could front load supply for a couple days. Like I think in the Goss system where I was reading the rules, so I'm looking forward to that. You can 2-day supply some units. Boy, these guys could take off and catch all this stuff here. Okay, yeah, they'll get closed off behind them. I think that's where a lot of games miss, is they don't have carry-on supplies like that. I mean, this does have, you can go out of supply and still do your thing, but then you start rolling for surrender. And you certainly don't want to get that. And maybe you get lucky and you get a airdrop or something. So, have to figure that one out. They still have some pretty good strength here just around Bastogne. All right, but you don't want to give up that location. I mean, we still own it. I've had to pull some of the Americans off to go in and try to stop this. And so you don't want to give that up. So my intention was, and I'm going to talk about the one changing factor here, is the southern front over here. All right. The Americans, I decided, you make these decisions on the fly, and then once you start them, sometimes you got to stick with them because there's no other recourse once you start a certain event. But they have taken back. They have now cleared all their entry hexes. I mean, they have now occupied them all. So this box up here, the box up here is no longer locked down. So I can start bringing this artillery on. And you can see the Allies, and I got to assume this old George, they're doing a damn on the 7th Army over here. Which, I know over time it happened anyhow, but I think Patton's focus was to break through to Bastogne in the historical version. But, as you can see, they pushed the Germans out. Their big Panzer unit sitting right here. He took a loss because he got an exchange result on an attack, and if your attacker has a tank unit, the tank unit has to take the loss. So they're pushing. They'll probably start pushing these guys back. So here's the question: is do I continue with that drive here with the Americans in here, and not pay attention to this, because one of the victory things that can end the game for the Americans is to take some of these, I think, some of these starting areas of the Germans. So I got to really do some decision making here. Do the Germans collapse back to the river and try to hang on? Which, if they do that, they might have enough troops to shift over there. If not, they may have to go grab some somewhere else. And they're already, other than right here in this pocket, they're already so thin on the edge that if you start to collapse anywhere, you're going to have to collapse everything, which throws it. Put it this way, if that were to start happening, if the Germans were to start collapsing, the game would pretty much be over. The drive would be finished. No hope at all whatsoever for victory, okay? So that's the way it's looking right now. The Germans are okay for the moment in almost all areas, except for over here on the left, which I'll have to see if I withdraw some of these units back to this river over here, if it's enough to hang on. I've already redirected some of the 15th Panzer Grenadier units over this way to try to help. All right, so take a look at it, guys. If you see anything over here in this area, from either side, recommendations, give them to me. See if I can apply something. I believe me, I read everything you guys send me, and I try to comment to everything you guys send me, and try to pick up on tidbits. But it's funny how you can have a plan, and everybody knows it. You play games, you know it. You can have a plan in your head, but then an event happens, and it just throws everything you want to do out the door. And I'm sure everybody has been down that road. All right, so once again, this is the end of the, 23rd turn? December 23rd, the end of the 16th turn, the night turn after that. And there's your situation. So it's looking like a withdrawal on the northern flank for the Allies. Scatter as best they can to defend in the center of Bulges. And then it's an attack for the Allies over here on the southern flank. All right, guys. That's the end of that turn. Let's get this posted so you all can see what's going on. All right, talk to you soon.